I can safely assume most of you watching this video have played a video game at least once in your life. But for those who have not, let's dive briefly into how video games teach players. For example, we'll look at Half-Life Alyx and how it teaches us to use the shotgun. After jumping down from a ledge, and me not remembering the controls, we see exactly how this game teaches the player to use a shotgun. First, the player has to solve a puzzle. While you have gravity gloves, magical item picker uppers from the future, they cannot be used on the gun, as the zombie has too good of a grip on it. What you have to do is lower the zombie down, and then use the PVC pipe that was initially locking the zombie at the location it was, at a lower elevation. After this, you can grab the weapon and start learning. First, you are told to open the chamber of the shotgun, and the game shows you how to do this. After that, you need to load in the shells, and flick the gun closed as shown by the hovering tips. After pulling the charging handle, you are instantly using the weapon to defend yourself. And this is done by the impending threat, the zombies closing in. After shooting out the zombies, you then want to use the skills you have just learned to reload the shotgun. Because of this reinforcement learning, where you have to learn a skill, then keep using it to progress, is why video game skills stick so well. Due to this, I believe video games should be introduced into classrooms nationwide. We have been seeing a shift in learning for some time now. Technology is being implemented into classrooms and has happened quite quickly. I started elementary school with basically no computers anywhere, to middle school with computers being in the classrooms, to high school with computers being on your person everywhere you go, even gym. Seeing the shift and the way it has affected learning firsthand was interesting to say the least. The biggest change it has had so far is the streamlining of the assignment assigning/grading process. It used to all be paper-based, with the possibility of assignments being forgotten or lost, as well as teachers having to deal with the paper and the physical space it took up. This is only a small portion of the issues before, but they are some of the more important ones. But now, teachers can collect and grade assignments with the use of a computer, a single device that takes up no more space than a tray or cereal box. Along with this, students are now able to track when stuff is due at the click of a button, as well as turn in assignments as late as possible. This is compared to the alternative, in class the day they are due. Now, what hasn't happened with the shift in technology is the learning techniques used by a lot of teachers. This diagram by Freitas covers this exact thing, going over the traditional paradigm, the present paradigm, and the future paradigm. The main takeaway from this diagram is the difference between past, present, and future. Past traditional paradigm of learning, classroom and lecture, versus the current new learning paradigm, which is anytime, anywhere, that kind of came up because of COVID. And then the future learning paradigm, which is seamless and lifelong, are all collections of how it's going currently. Teaching and learning are really due for improvement. Because of this, I believe video games should be introduced into classrooms. It may be hard to convince teachers and educators alike into this change. For these reasons, I've collected a couple of sources talking about the effects of video games on learning, and I also have some websites that talk about how video games can be implemented into the classroom. First, I'll start with the reasons to implement them. In this study, Are Serious Games an Effective Teaching Tool in Anatomy Education? The authors are studying the effects of serious games, aka learning games, and their effect on learning anatomy. The use of this would be to replace traditional cadavers in the learning of anatomy. Ultimately, the study determined that the usage of serious games is valuable and are effective as learning devices, with evidence to back this up. In the second study, Game-Based Learning for Learners with Disabilities, What is Next?, the authors are studying the usage of game-based learning and its effectiveness for those with learning disabilities. The authors found that creating general and specific guidelines for each disability would be needed for proper implementation, and commented on their effectiveness. This review is targeted towards those who want to implement video games in the classroom, and is more specifically for those with learning disabilities. They also touch on how this is meant to have a greater effect on those with learning disabilities. Our third and final study touches on the potential problem with the idea of using video games as a teaching tool. The potential of video games as a pedagogical tool. The author adds a disclaimer at the bottom of the article, making sure we know his biases, stating that the author is a scientific consultant for a company that specializes in the cognitive training video games field. Despite this, I believe the author makes a great point. The author at the end of the study talks about how traditional video games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Portal, the Civilization series, etc., each individually have learning components similar to those taught in school, but don't really touch on multiple topics, like Portal teaching problem solving, but not really much else. Besides this, he recommends that teachers choose carefully what games their students play. What I find interesting about this study is the use of traditional games for learning. While yes, it would work, kinda, it would be better to use the games developed with the intent of teaching and not the intent of entertainment and storytelling. So while yes, teachers need to be careful when choosing games for the class to play, I think a better alternative is to choose video games developed with the intent of teaching. A good example of this is Astrobot, the game that came packaged with the PS5. Astrobot was developed to teach the player how to use the PS5 controller effectively, using fun mechanics and tool tips along the way. These three sources help us understand why they're effective, but most importantly state that their usage would be good. Now, how to implement games into the classroom. I found 2 articles on this exact subject. First, an article by Iberdrola. In this article, Iberdrola provides this lovely graphic with tips on how to use video games in the classroom. This graphic covers most of the concerns regarding the introduction of games in the classroom, especially noting that teachers themselves don't need to be avid gamers. The second article from the website Accelerate Learning covers the key factors that educators and curriculum selectors should consider when choosing video games for educational purposes. This article covers aligning with educational goals and standards, engaging in interactive learning experience, balancing educational content and gameplay, and integration with classroom dynamics, hitting on great points like they should be fun but not at the cost of educational content, and games that provide immediate feedback and adapt to students' learning pace are more effective in reinforcing and assessing knowledge. With these 2 sources, I believe educators can be well informed on how to introduce games into the classrooms and effectively use them to teach. So, should video games be used in education? Yes. Is there evidence to back this up? Also yes. After reading through the evidence, all 3 sources, even the skeptical one, decided that games did in fact improve learning. How can educators implement games into the classrooms? With the help of these 2 articles, implementing video games into the classrooms will be easy and painless. Games have been teaching us without our knowledge. My example from earlier, Half-Life Alyx does this in an intuitive way, so much that you don't even realize it's happening when you're playing. Honestly, after playing that section and looking back at the footage, I was astounded to realize that I missed this happen. I was so focused on not dying that it slipped my mind. Hopefully you found this video entertaining and informational. If you want to see video games in your classroom, share this with your teacher or parent or guardian to let them know. It's a good idea. Take care and happy gaming.